on the top. You want me to use this? So on. Kind of hold it up, first grade. Yes. Oh, it says new ones.
And if you do want to mute it, you hit it once, it'll go.
All right. The microphones are a new addition. Will assist in people making sure that we hear us properly. So we're gonna try and use them when we're making our comments and talking. I now call the meeting to order at 6:30. Before we begin, does any committee member wish to declare an actual or potential conflict of interest?
I can just, you go, we'll talk.
Oh, we have two, yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, we have two mics kind of that side of the room, this side of the room.
Testing, okay. I just want to declare a potential conflict of interest. My wife, Amy Christensen, is the museum director. So there's several points in the budget that may trigger me to declare an actual conflict of interest. Hopefully none of that will be today because we're just going over public works, but I'm gonna put that in the record.
Yeah, I don't think I have it, but I'm gonna declare potential conflict as I work for Sedcor and we have a small contract with the city, but. I'll be saying it out loud anyway.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, now we're gonna go to roll call.
Sorry. Oh,
Sorry,
in a moment, we'll go to.
in a moment, we'll go to roll call.
Committee member Schwarzer is here via Zoom, so I'll holler if she wants to speak. Committee member Source. Not forget. Committee member Roden here. Committee member Blair.
Here.
Committee member Martin Lord here. Committee member Morton is excused. Committee member Court here. Committee member Garrison. Here. Committee member Porter here. Committee member Sharman.
Here.
Committee member Seiler here. Committee member Paraskevas.
Here.
Committee member Christensen
Here.
and committee member Parkman.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, the next first order of business is the election of the chair. The next item on the agenda is the election of chair for the committee. We will begin by accepting nominations. Once nominations are closed, we will proceed with a vote. I now open the floor for nominations for the committee chair. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Miranda Garrison for chair.
Okay, is there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. We will now proceed to a roll call vote.
Committee member Parkman.
Aye.
Committee member Christensen.
Aye.
Committee member Paraskevas.
Aye.
Committee member Seiler.
Aye.
Committee member Sharman.
Aye.
Committee member Porter.
Aye.
Committee member Garrison.
Aye.
Committee member Core.
Aye.
Committee member Martin Willis.
Aye.
Committee member Blair.
Aye.
Committee member Roden. Aye. And committee member Schwarzer. Able to close.
Move on.
Myra, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. you can hear me
Okay.
now.
Thank you. I'm, aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right, motion carried or election carries. Miranda has been elected as chair of the committee. Congratulations, Miranda. It's now your turn to meet. Okay, so next we have is the minutes. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from last year's budget meeting and work sessions. Just a reminder, members may vote on approval of the minutes, even if they were not present at that meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? None. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as they are presented? Kathy? And who's second? Bill Wither. Sorry. Next part is voting on it. Okay, do you want to do a roll call vote again?
Committee member Schwarzer.
Aye.
Committee member, oh, Source is here. Source?
Oh, yes, aye.
Committee member Rodan? Aye. Committee member Boisvert?
Aye.
Committee member Mark Willis? Committee member Court? Aye. Committee member Garrison? Or, sorry, Chair Garrison?
Aye.
Committee member Porter? Aye. Committee member Sharman?
Aye.
Committee member Tyler?
Aye.
Committee member Karasavas?
Aye.
Committee member Christensen?
Aye.
And committee member Carmen?
Aye.
Me too.
All right, motion carries. All right, now we have received requests for public comments, so we are going to open it up for public comment now. And I will be having people come up in the order that I received your cards. We wish to hear public comment on the proposed budget. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length. And remember to state your name and city of residence for the record. Okay, the first person I have is Jasper Smith.
Great. It's good. Okay, just look.
Yeah, we hear me? My name is Jasper Smith. I live in Independence, just a couple of blocks down the road here. I'd like to express my support for funding the museum, parks and library. The city spends over half its funds on the police, which I think is excessive. I will support shifting funds away from law enforcement towards community services. Repeated studies have shown that funding social services has a more positive impact on public safety than funding law enforcement. The cost of everything, including government, has gone up. No one likes paying more, but it does not surprise me that I'm paying more at the grocery store and the gas pump. I will also be paying more to maintain the basic services of my community. I work in Corvallis, and my chances to go to the library and museum are limited since I work while they're open to the public. I'm happy to support them, even though I don't have the opportunities to benefit as much. Just as I support schools, I do not have any children to attend. They are important to the community. I will be retiring in a few months, so my income will be significantly reduced. I will still support funding the essential services of the museum, library, and parks. I will gladly pay a fee for their support. The city currently charges a fee for the support of law enforcement. Whatever fee is charged, even if it's just the current fee, it should be spread across city services and include the library, museum, and parks, not just law enforcement. I would support a fee for community services and parks. Some of my neighbors would support a fee for the police. I think it is divisive to propose a fee for some, but not for all city services. I support a fee for community services and parks and the police out of respect for my neighbors and the desire for community as a city.
Thank you very much, Jasper. All right, next we have Andrea Gorgachev. Sorry. Gorgachea.
Hello, I'm Andrea Gorgachea, and I live in Independence, Oregon. And I'm speaking tonight in support of adopting a fee to maintain library park museum services. I'm speaking because the library is my family's favorite weekly adventure. We go to story time every Wednesday. We go to all the other monthly events like Family Coloring Club, Jen's Thinking with Kids, Indie Works Days, and all the other ones. But the library serves our family more than just hosting these activities. It's where we've met other families and new friends. It's where we stop on our way back to the park when we need a safe place to go to the bathroom. It's where we print documents. It's where my children walk in and they're greeted by name, by people who care about them. And it's where they will learn to use a computer and where they have access to hundreds of books. There's a term that's been repopularized lately. It's called third spaces. And third spaces are places outside of home and work where you meet people and connect. And I see a lot of people online complaining that our city doesn't feel small, doesn't feel tiny like it used to. But I disagree, because the families that I see at the library, I see on the trolley, and then I see them at the grocery store, and then I see them at the parks, I see them at preschool, I see them at restaurants, I see them everywhere. And so if we want that close-knit, small town feel, I think you have to support the places where that exists, and that's the library. And another note is that I used to work in Salem when my son was first born. And this was back when library hours were originally introduced back in 2023, and it closed on Saturdays. And that broke my heart because that was the only day to take my son to the library. I wanted to go to the library that was down the street from our house, and we couldn't go. It was the one day a week that we could, and it just ended. And so now that I have the privilege to stay home and take my kids Monday through Tuesday, I know what we're at danger, like what we're going to lose if we don't support it. And so, to close, I speak to you all, still as that mom who never got to take her son to the library because it still breaks that mom's heart, you know, and I feel for all those moms and parents who don't get to go. But I also speak to you as the mom who now can go as much as she wants. And I fear what we're going to lose, if we don't support the library, the parks and the museum, these third spaces. I really believe that, you know, the library specifically is really important for children's level of reading. It's important to their socialization, and it's important to their growth as residents of Independence. And one day, they're gonna be the ones who stand in our position right here. And I think our first step towards that future is helping fund these great places. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next is Vicki McGovern.
Mayor, council, city staff, good evening. My name is Vicki McCubbin. I live at 724 Session Street in Independence. First, I want to acknowledge the mayor, council, and budget committee for your time and commitment to make the tough decisions that involve the finalization of this year's budget. City staff have worked diligently to prioritize the most important items to their organizations, and the city manager and city budget director have brought this budget forward, and I appreciate their efforts as well. Thank you. Independence is a welcoming community, and such as an easy place to be a volunteer and become involved, and I've been doing so since 2016, including meeting library boards, various committees, and other ways to support community services and parks. I care deeply about all of them, and I find it hard to picture my life in Independence without each one, and want to take a moment to share my experiences. As I sit at the welcoming desk at the Heritage Museum on Wednesday afternoons, greeting and answering questions both for residents and community members, I have a unique opportunity to hear the positive comments made by folks as they learn about and often remember our community. Children often come in after school to visit the museum, sometimes just on their own to spend time, or often bringing in their parents after they have visited on a field trip to make it a family event. Our library is a vibrant, dynamic place to visit that is really like no other. Families gather, children listen to stories and participate in engaging activities, including the soon-to-come chair yoga. It is a community space with knowledgeable and approachable staff to support people in their research and use of technology. Youth have learned valuable coding skills and have a welcoming place to be. Families, adults, children all need positive spaces. It is a reason to live in Independence and a reason for businesses to come to Independence because we have these resources available here. Various research organizations have found that libraries and museums are positive, stabilizing places, contributing to neighborhood cohesion and reduced crime. Our city and families are all faced with making difficult economic decisions, and we all need to reflect on our values as we make them. Thank you for considering the value and importance of our parks, library, and museum.
Thank you very much. Next one is Rebecca Fetters.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Fetters, and I've lived in Independence for about 4 years now. One of the things that brought my husband and I to Independence was a visit and just a quick spin through town, and then just the desire to live in a place that feels the way that Independence feels. It didn't take long after we moved here to realize what an incredibly active and vital role the museum and the library play in how Independence feels. I've lived in small towns, I've lived in medium-sized towns, big towns, and I feel like the library and the museum here outperform anything else I've ever seen. They certainly go far beyond just a place they can go to look at exhibits or to check out a book. The range of activities that they have, speakers, school groups, the people that they draw to our community that I think might not otherwise even know to come here. is truly impressive. And I think that that kind of then forms, I see them as kind of the root structure of our town. They're not, you know, the most visible part of the plant. They're not necessarily the showiest, but they are really integral to especially how our downtown core feels. My fear is that if their services are minimized or eliminated, that you might not see the impact of that immediately, but I think over time, you would start to see a real erosion of especially our downtown area and how it functions, how many people come to visit it, how much money is spent there. I think it's often easy to look at libraries and museums and things of that sort as non-revenue producing entities, when you're making really, really difficult budget decisions. I know you are. But I do think they are a really vital part of the economic health, of our community. And I hope that they will remain strong and, funded. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in this process. I've been in charge of budgets before in really ugly budgetary environments, and I don't envy you. And I'm sorry that we all find ourselves in this position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next I have, and I believe this out, Murphy Foster. Did I say that right? Probably not. Okay, right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Murphy Foster. I'm a current resident in Swan. I've lived there about 4 years now because I'm currently studying at Purdue. I'm speaking today on behalf of the museum. I am a current volunteer there. I've been volunteering there about a year and a half. I think it's a really incredible opportunity, not only for volunteers, but for the visitors as well. I started working there during a break in my schooling. I'm a history major, so this was a really important and incredible opportunity for me. And I found that I was getting the experience that I wanted and needed. And I also got to interact more with the community that I hadn't really been a part of since I moved here. For example, I've spent the last few months restoring and building a historic dollhouse from the 1950s. And once we put it in the exhibit, the family came in and they saw it and they were incredibly grateful and they were so happy and they expressed their joy that there was finally a safe place for it. It had been in a closet for multiple decades. They were super excited. I got lots of hugs, lots of tears. It was really beautiful to see the just the result of my hard work and the work that I got to be a part of at the museum. And I think having that opportunity to keep Independence's heritage alive like that is incredibly important to the well-being of this town and even Moncton as well, just the community. It really can't be overstated how much the museum's work has contributed to this. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Next we have Logan Barr.
Hello, my name is Logan Barr, and for the last year and a half or so, I've been volunteering at the museum on Fridays. Our mission is to collect and share the natural history and diverse cultural heritage of the river community of Independence. During my volunteer time, I have come to see just how important the museum is to the function of our diverse community, reflective of our cultural history. The museum is a hub that links so many people working behind the scenes of the city. From being a place where you can drop off an application to have a heart on Main Street, to helping organize and train volunteers for things like the Wall That Heals, or the work it takes to put on the ghost tour. Outside of the community-wide events, we constantly have visitors who recall their time growing up here, their family's historical ties to the community, or an anecdote about their past connection to the town. The museum is constantly working to uncover more of our rich history to ensure we can display the depths of diversity that has existed since the inception of our city, with the authenticity and inclusion it deserves. The work that is done by everyone at the museum helps bridge the diverse history with our progressive future. For the last 5 months during my weekly shift, I've been working on a pair of photo albums that were donated to the museum back in the 80s. Thought to be from around 1910, they only had a sheet of paper with the name of the in-laws of the album's owners, William Williams. The albums include photos of people, places, and businesses in both Monmouth and Independence, including business, buildings, and events on campus of Oregon Normal School, photos of the Monmouth Independence Railroad, as well as Floyd and other classmates on the campus of Oregon Normal School. My research has revealed that Floyd attended Oregon Normal School between 1915 and 1918. As a student there, he worked for the school yearbook, The Norm, for at least 2 years, and a handful of his photos from those albums are in those yearbooks. Prioritizing the museum ensures that we can continue to enrich our history and celebrate our diverse heritage. The museum provides people both near and far with a place to engage in the stories of independence, both past and present.
All right, thank you. That is all the public comment sheets that I have. So now we'll move on to the next thing in my little script here is the budget presentation. Staff will now present information from the Public Works Department.
Maybe we'll drop the budget message first.
Okay. That was just like, that was what was, I thought it was weird. I was like, that doesn't seem right, but okay.
Try to get through this quickly.
Okay, yeah.
So,
All right, now we will hear the budget message.
If this doesn't in anybody's eyes, let me know. I can put the flyer back up.
Can we lower that? I'm having to scoot back. Yeah, it's gonna get worse.
we'll do this right now. Thank you, Myra.
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go.
Everyone hearing. First, before we get into the budget message, I just want to touch on the budget calendar, remind everyone where we are. We are in our first budget committee official meeting, and we have 4 more tentatively scheduled, and we will hold as many as we need, with the goal of bringing an approved budget to council for adoption June 9th. If that doesn't happen for whatever reason, we do have room in our calendar to have additional meetings into June, to have one more meeting before the end of June. An emergency meeting at the end of June during the work session. I'm not gonna read the entire budget message to you this evening, we will just touch on some highlights. For the sake of time, we are going. Am I losing it? We are going to be going through all of the public work funds this evening, so I'll try to do quickly. Thank you. This year, incorporating key recommendations from a committee composed of community members. In fiscal year 2026, the city convened this committee to evaluate the long-term sustainability of community services and parks. Based on their recommendation to the city council, this budget includes a proposed community services and parks fee to help preserve these value programs. This year, we are facing significant challenges and increasing costs, including rising health insurance costs and increasing prices for goods and services. Our resources are allocated appropriately while trying to still align with council goals and priorities. As part of the ongoing effort to align our resources and maintain council goals, the budget includes a goal setting process in fiscal year 2027 to ensure continued alignment between financial planning, organizational priorities, and community expectations. Notably, in the previous fiscal year, one of our key achievements has been stabilizing the police department through the implementation of the public safety fee, which successfully collected over $800,000 or anticipated to collect over $800,000 by fiscal year end. We also continue to evaluate options to improve long-term stability of the general fund, including consideration of additional revenue strategies reflected in this budget, which we will discuss as we move into those funds. The city has adopted a comprehensive and forward-looking approach to infrastructure planning, addressing both current system needs and long-term sustainability. This includes design and construction of new infrastructure necessary to serve a growing community while maintaining reliable service for existing residents. The regional water treatment plant project continues to move forward. And in addition, following a joint advocacy trip to Washington, D.C. by the City of Independence, the City of Monmouth, and Polk County, Congresswoman Salinas has submitted a $5 million community project funding request to help support this project. In addition, the Corvallis Road water line was fully funded through a prior year community project funding award and is anticipated to be completed by August 2026. City staff continue to actively plan, pursue funding, and implement these projects while maintaining coordination with regional partners. One of our focuses continues to be in community engagement. Effective communication and engagement are essential to creating a community where residents feel informed, connected, and able to participate in local decision-making. Over the past 4 years, the city has implemented a deliberate multi-year communication strategy led by the city's communication director. As a result, the city has seen a substantial increase in community engagement, including significant growth in video viewership and traffic to the city's website. A key component of this success has been the innovative 60-second council video series, which provides brief, focused updates on important topics. This format has proven to be an efficient and accessible way to keep the community informed and engaged. In addition to digital outreach, the city has placed a strong emphasis on in-person engagement led by Mayor Schwartzler. The mayor's town halls and pub talks have become a central part of the city's engagement efforts, providing consistent, approachable opportunities for residents to ask questions, share feedback, and engage directly with city leadership. The city will continue to build on these efforts in fiscal year 2027. Another area that we are focusing is economic development. Supporting a stable and resilient local economy remains a priority for the City of Independence. Guided by the Vision 2040 plan and the City Council's goals, economic development efforts are focused on strengthening existing businesses, supporting downtown vitality, and positioning the community for long-term growth. Like many communities, Independence has experienced economic challenges in recent years. The city is focused on targeted strategies to stabilize and rebuild key sectors of the local economy. The fiscal year 26 budget process, during the fiscal year 26 budget process, the city contracted with Sedcor to assess available industrial land and support business recruitment efforts with a focus on attracting employers that provide sustainable family wage jobs aligned with the community's long-term economic goals. To further support downtown activity and community engagement, this budget includes a part-time events function with tourism and events. These responsibilities will be assumed by the city's museum director, in addition to her existing role, leveraging her experience in coordinating events and strong community relationships. Transportation continues to be a main focus. The Chestnut Street Bridge project remains a key priority and continues to move forward. This complex and critical infrastructure investment is supported through a combination of prior year community project funding award, additional federal and state grants, and system development charges, along with other funds. The city is working in partnership with the Oregon Department of Transportation and Marion County to advance the design and construction of this project. Through all of this, the city is working through operational and budget challenges. We have recommended financial stability actions. The City of Independence remains committed to long-term fiscal stability, maintaining essential services and meeting community needs. Over the past 2 fiscal years, the city has implemented significant reductions across departments, including staffing, services, and operational expenses. While these actions have helped to stabilize the city's financial position in the near term, they have also had measurable operational impacts. Over the past several years, staffing levels have been reduced across all general fund departments. As a result, many employees are currently performing the work of multiple positions while managing increasing service demands. This sustained level of reduced staffing has led to delays in project completion, longer response times, and limited capacity to take additional work. While staff have continued to perform at a high level under these conditions, this approach is not sustainable over time. Maintaining service levels under current staffing constraints will become increasingly difficult, and the city risks further impacts to service timeliness, efficiency, and overall effectiveness if these conditions persist. In addition, prolonged strain on existing staff creates a risk to workforce stability. Continued reliance on reduced staffing levels may lead to increased turnover and challenges in retaining experienced employees, which would further impact the city's ability to deliver consistent and reliable services to the community. This is going to be a main point of discussion when we go over the general fund. Our public safety fee has
Do you want to use the?
yeah, let's trade.
Try that too.
Technical difficulties. To address these challenges, the budget includes the following actions. We are moving forward with the public safety fee with the revised terms which were adopted by City Council last year. The current fee of $17 per month is going to be reduced to $10 effective July 1st, 2026. And this will be indexed annually going forward to inflation using the CPI West region to maintain long-term stability. Another new fee that you will see implemented and incorporated into the budget that has been proposed is a community services and parks fee. This is based on the recommendation of a committee composed entirely of community members convened to evaluate the long-term sustainability of community services and parks. The proposed fee of $11.50 for community services and $8.15 for parks will be reviewed by the budget committee for consideration in the fiscal year 26-27 budget. This is going to be very important, but it is something we will discuss again when we get into the general fund and the fee revenue discussion. It will be presented. You will see this. You will see very clearly in the budget the impact and the revenue and the contingency. Without the fee, we will not be able to staff those departments. We will have to close doors. This past year of operating under reduced staffing and service levels has demonstrated that current general fund resources are not sufficient to sustain existing service levels in these departments over time. Without additional revenue, further reductions to services would be necessary. This year in our fiscal year 26-27 budget, our community services library budget restores circulation materials or a circulation position that was previously reduced. This addition is intended to support core library operations and improve consistency for the community.
Also does include circulation material.
And it does include circulation materials, which were removed entirely last year. Tourism and events. To help support downtown activity and community engagement after losing our downtown manager last year, a part-time events function has been included with our tourism and events fund this year. These responsibilities will be assumed by the city's museum director, in addition to her existing role, with partial funding provided through tourism and events. This approach allows the city to expand programming while efficiently utilizing existing staff expertise. Another incorporation into the budget this year is a city attorney, which again will be discussed as we go through the general fund departments. The addition of an in-house city attorney position will help address the organization's legal service needs, which have grown exponentially. This transition from contracted services to an in-house model provides both operational and financial benefits. It supports multiple departments, including court, community development, administration, public works, finance, human resources, and police. Let's see. The city will continue to evaluate staffing levels and organizational capacity over time, balancing service expectations with available resources. In addition, this year, our cost of living adjustments, which are established through collective bargaining agreements. In fiscal year 27, the budget includes a COLA of 2.9% for both represented and non-represented staff. Additionally, we have revised personnel allocations. These are updated annually to reflect actual workloads and responsibilities. Moving to the city's debt and obligations, we continue to meet all scheduled principal and interest payments on our outstanding debt obligations. Consistent with city council direction, no new interfund loans have been entered into. The city remains focused on paying down existing interfund obligations and has established a clear policy that interfund borrowing will only be considered in limited emergency circumstances and only with prior approval from city council. The city continues to operate with a constrained revenue environment, primarily due to limitations of measures 5 and 50. At the same time, costs largely outside of the city's control, such as PERS contributions, health insurance premiums, and other benefit-related expenses, are expected to continue increasing. Inflationary pressures further impact the cost of providing these services. The fiscal year 26-27 budget reflects a continued commitment to fiscal responsibility, service delivery, and long-term stability. Over the past several years, the city has taken meaningful steps to address financial challenges, including implementing expenditure reductions, improving financial planning tools, and refining operational practices. City staff have worked collaboratively and diligently to prepare this budget, and their continued professionalism and adaptability are essential to navigating a complex fiscal environment. We'd like to thank the City Council and the Budget Committee for their leadership, their time, and careful consideration in reviewing this budget and helping ensure that the priorities reflected in the fiscal year 26-27 budget align with the needs and values of the Independence community. Bring this one real quick, I have one item for you. At everyone's seat at your table, you were provided a crosswalk. We do have an amendment to the proposed budget that was distributed last week. As most of you know, we work up into the first meeting, working on fine tuning the budget and printing to get everything out. We did have changes as we were working to fine tune our salary allocations for all personnel that impacted our water, sewer, and storm funds. Due to those changes in allocations, we had to tweak some capital expenditures to reduce those and increase contingency to maintain levels in accordance with our bond and debt provisions to make sure we're maintaining appropriate contingency in those funds. I have provided you with new pages printed out for those pages in your water, storm, and sewer funds. They are not two-sided though, so I don't recommend getting rid of your old page. Just place this on top so you have the updated numbers. And this is something that, since we have already distributed our proposed budget, we are going to have to make a final motion, a formal motion. We could do that now or at the end. It might be easier
At the end.
after it's discussed.
Yeah, we have all of them.
Attach it off the end.
Yep.
Okay.
If you're comfortable with that, Chair.
I think that would be a splendid idea.
Thank you.
And where is this at? Is this supposed to be?
They are pages 71, 73, and 75. Wonderful. Okay. Now, the next thing on the is the budget presentation. Staff will now present information from the Public Works Department.
Thank you, Chair, and, like last year, I put together the presentation to match for the pages, so we're not bouncing around in the budget. My pages might be off a little bit, because the tweaks, did this before some of the tweaks got done, so it might be a page before or after. First one should be on page 63 for the Parks and Rec Fund. Okay, Parks and Rec Fund, main cost increases, on the per line item basis, have to do with, automatic locks and bathroom doors and parks, park repairs and replacement and maintenance. You'll notice at the very top of the fund and revenue, it shows the parks fee, $390,000. That is allocated out over repairs and maintenance for land improvement, repairs and maintenance building, and other contracting professional services, to increase those amounts so we can do the repairs and maintenance that have been getting cut back pretty much here for the past several years. Are there any questions about parks?
Is there a microphone over there?
The mute button. All right, gotcha. So if I'm to understand this, so the proposed fee increase is up at the top. And you're saying last year we spent 20,000 on repairs to parks and grounds, for example. And your proposal is 75,000. So if we don't institute the fee, would that be consistent with the 20,000?
It would do a combination of two things. The general fund contribution would have to be bumped up into the parks.
Okay.
Right now, the fee is offsetting that.
Okay.
The other piece of it would be, we would have to reduce this back down. So I'll give you an example. Repairs and maintenance building, this current year is 11,000. This next year is 20,000. That would mean that we have to cut out the automatic door locks. We have a lot of problems in the parks with vandalism.
Yeah.
This is to help mitigate that. There'd be increases in the contracted services that help, deal with park maintenance, going, keeping up on the plans, trying to keep a level of service out there. And then the other one is, which was kind of a big one for our staff, is in the land and improvements. We had set aside playground equipment and furniture replacement. I've been asked every single year since I've been here for funding to replace stuff that's falling apart.
Yeah.
And the money wasn't there. So with this infusion of money, they can now start working on this.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation. Appreciate it.
Oh, maybe I'm forced to have a question.
Okay,
Hi, thank you for this summary. I do have a quick question just regarding sources of revenue. Do we collect any revenue from renting out the park? And I'm thinking like Saturday market or any of the public events that we do?
yes, there are some revenues. I don't have that in front of me for the rental piece of it.
I believe that goes into the general fund generally, but because the fee is dedicated to parks, it goes into the parks department.
Did you catch that?
I did, yeah. Okay. So it's just not, we are getting revenue from it. It's just not showing up here in this budget line item.
Right.
Okay.
And the revenues aren't huge amounts of revenue.
Yeah, right.
We charge an exorbitant rate to rent the park spaces.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, there's no other questions. I'd like to move on to the water operating fund. This should be on page 70, your packet. The main projects for for this fund are the water meter replacements. We're going to be going into our fourth of the 5 years for water meter replacements. You've seen improved meter reading on that, which has also reduced our water loss calculations, they need to be under 10%, we brought from about 27 to 28%, the latest reading I think was about 13%. So we're actually doing good. And then the others are the Corvallis Road Waterline Project and the Water Treatment Plant Project. And of those, the meter replacement is 150,000. We also have 50,000 in there for large meter replacements because they are really long in the tooth now. And then as far as the capital projects, Corvallis Road water line, we spend our SDCs first, but in the rates, there's 100,000 in there. And in the water treatment plant, we have SDCs and the rates are about 1.7 million. And we use that before we use any loan money because the whole objective is use the cash you have on hand first, and then only draw on the loans, which is your long-term debt, which drives your rates, draw on those last. The other big item that I wanted to mention is actually in the debt service. We have scheduled, because they can be paid off, one's in May and the other one's in June or July. We are planning on paying off the 2016A water bond and the Chase Bank water right loan. That will be a combined cost savings to the city of, what is that, about $110,000 in interest charges. And then the money that we would normally pay on principal and interest could then go to the water treatment plant project and even bolster more towards the project. Are there any questions on water fund? Okay. Next one is on page 72, sewer operating fund. The main projects for this fund are the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project and 9th Street pump station, phase 2-3 project. We actually opened bids on that yesterday. And they came in right where we wanted them to be. So we should be able to award that in May and be able to give a notice to proceed in June for them to start construction on the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. There is also another new line item, 61170, repairs and maintenance for the effluent system. They used to be captured under the wastewater treatment plant, but they're not part of the wastewater treatment plant. They're an actual separate system. That's where during the summertime, we can't discharge to the river. So we use that system to irrigate a farm to the north. There's a temperature issue. But we also have costs with that, and it's very hard to track the cost for the maintenance of that system if it's wrapped up and buried inside the wastewater treatment plant. So we ask that be separated so we can track the cost. Question.
Thank you. So on that, I'm looking and it says we budgeted this year for 5,000. We've used $1,100. My track.
Which one?
The effluent. Am I looking wrong?
6170.
61. Oh, okay, I was looking wrong.
Yeah, the cost for that used to actually be up in 61130.
Okay.
That's where they were absorbed, and trying to go back through and look at all of the invoicing for the wastewater treatment plant and parsing out the effluent system is really cumbersome. So
Thank you.
And we're trying to make sure we track that.
My question is, that's gonna be more spent in the summer, right? As the water heats up and you can't dump it into the river because then you have a heat issue with the river.
Right.
So when you're looking and you say, well, you're way under or whatever, we spend a lot of that money come July and August when we can't do that,
The
right?
repairs and maintenance will typically happen when we start to fire them up, which is in May.
May, okay, thanks.
So
So
maybe
we haven't done it yet, basically.
Right, so when we get ready to fire them up, we'll go out and make sure everything works, do any last minute repairs that we need to. And then during the irrigation season, if anything breaks, this line item would take care of that. And last year, I want to say we sent them somewhere on the order between 58 and 60 million gallons of treated effluent. So. Yeah. In there, as far as the projects go, for wastewater treatment plant, we've got the SDC's first rates are about 955,000, followed by a loan. And then for the 9th Street pump station, we're running on a grant that Representative Evans got for us. That grant so far has paid for all of the design and should pay for almost all of the construction. I have another 600,000 in there in rate money, just in case, because when I put this together, we didn't have the bids in. We just got them in yesterday, so there might be some fine tuning of this. If not before budget adoption, then through a transfer resolution, just between two line items, we would move the money from the collection system up to the treatment plant and use the money there before we have to draw them up. Any other questions? Okay, going to storm drain operating fund, page 74. Could be. The one main note I have in here is the we're waiting for the update for the stormwater rates. We are probably about 80% done with the stormwater master plan. I'm anticipating that the SDCs and rates would happen probably in 2027. After the master plan is adopted, it's on track to take it to council in October of 2026 for adoption. And then we'll have a better idea of what the future rate structure needs to be. Right now, it's just based on inflation and set to go up July 1 of every year inflation until the rate analysis is done. The one big one that's on here, I want to make everybody aware of, is in line item 61110, repairs and maintenance infrastructure. We were informed by our state representative that there is going to be a significant cut coming to gas taxes. And the estimation is it's about a 20% reduction. Now, the street fund and the stormwater fund both paid for leaf pickup every year. Leaf pickup is not a mandate on the city. It's not in our ordinances. It was a quote unquote nice thing to do that was started back in the 90s that never really had any funding for it and we don't have the equipment, the proper equipment to do that. We use the backhoe. We've had to make significant repair investments into the backhoe just to deal with this. But now that the funding is cut, the street fund, the stormwater fund can no longer support it. So this next season, we won't be doing any leaf pickup. The only way that can change is we ran really rough numbers. It would be about a 22% increase to the stormwater just to cover that cost. Whereas right now, through, as I understand it, through the garbage service that people are already paying for, they have landscape disposal. So we're gonna have to be asking folks to use that service they're already paying for versus the city continuing to support this. Because it's gonna take a rate increase to continue that. Any questions?
Done.
So great by that.
You said there's a 22% increase in storm drain operations. Could you give me that in a number at some point?
Yes, I can send that back.
Thank you.
Yeah, it would be a 22% increase on the rates, and I remember off the top.
If you did the leave,
If you decided that you
yeah,
wanted
if we
to
don't do it,
continue-
there's no increase.
Right, if you wanted to continue to provide that service, requirement to do it, it's not like it's codified. Then there would be about a 22% rate increase to the existing rates.
My concern is and I know we're just speculating, but if we don't have this service to the Black community, what would be the cost then when all of our storm drains at the end of the streets get plugged up? So I'm wondering, because if people don't pick up their leaves.
Yeah, they have to use the existing yard debris. And if they don't, then we start getting into the code enforcement.
Right.
Where you can't just break your stuff out onto the street anymore and expect the city to pick it up. You need to put it in your yard debris or yard dumpster.
Right, and so, but just as someone who's lived here for a very long time, I can fill my yard debris up with pine cones and still have a mountain. So that's just my concern is what's gonna happen to our street corners if we can't.
Yeah, and I did talk to a representative from Brands. They did say that, you know, you have your regular every other week or something like that. You can, like when leaves are dumping, which could be in October, most likely it's in November, you can request additional bins at a one-time cost to fill those up, and then they'll come pick them up and they'll take the bins away. So it depends on how many trees you have and the leaves, and if they dribble out over time, or if you get a really good windstorm and boom, everything hits all at once. So, any other questions on the
I
stormwater?
think Dana has one.
Thank you, Commissioner Pratt.
Is the button green?
It is now.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I just had to follow up on her question. How much, because I was here in the 90s and I remember how flooded the streets would get. How much damage does it cause having those leaves go into the storm system?
Most of them get trapped at the catch basins and do localized flooding on top. If they're not regularly swept up and cleaned, what happens is they get into the catch basins fill up, and then they start filling up the storm lines. The difficulty with that is unclogging matted leaves from a storm main is a very long and laborious process with our Vector truck, trying to basically backwash all of that stuff back to where it can get sucked out. And then on top of it, we have to take it to the wastewater treatment plant. We have a little decant facility. We have to wait for it to dry out, because when you take stuff to the landfill, they charge you on the weight. It's a tipping. So what we do is we take it out there, we get a bunch of the waterway to drain off, then we put it in dumpsters or trucks, and then we haul it to landfill for disposal. Otherwise our costs would be astronomical. But yeah, if unmanaged and unmaintained, like if we didn't have this street sweeper, the storm systems would plug up really fast.
Okay, and is the cost of dealing with that more expensive than just running the dozer out there and cleaning up the leaves?
So to do the, I don't have the number, I can go back in my desk, but so, wait a second. No, I don't have it on here. I've got it on something else. I have it in dollar amount. On that, but I'd have to go dig it up. Okay. It's not a insignificant amount. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. So, because it used to be over two different funds. Street contributed to it and stormwater contributed to it. But our tipping fees and hauling fees were just for the disposal was, I want to say it was somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 a year.
Gerald, I want to clarify, those tipping fees are for the leaves that we pick up,
The leaves that we pick up.
not the ones that if they're in the catch basin.
Right, that's completely different.
Yeah, have we compared the costs there?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
And do we have those numbers? You said
Not
back on your
front.
desk? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, can I move that mic over down to Commissioner Baca? And I do have a question. What about, so if we don't do that, could we do like an event, kind of like we do the cleanup, like a yard cleanup day down in the park? How much would that cost or be available to people so they could drop off all their leaves one day.
I don't know how much Branch would charge for that. I know some communities will coordinate with the garbage disposal company and they'll bring in like a couple of 30-yard bins. And then people will come down with their pickups or trailers and stuff. And then they basically dump it and then it gets loaded into a bin and hauled off. I don't know if they've done that in the past. But I've been here that long. But it's something probably have to talk to Brands about starting that up, especially if it's large. But like I said, they also provide that one-time leaf pickup fee. If you get them all in one shot, if you need 2 or 3 extras, they'll deliver them for a set fee and then haul it away.
I would say, in my prior city, we did something similar to that. Logistically, it can be challenging. You do pay for the dumpsters and you have to have staff on site, so you pay your staff to be there. And then what happens over time is you start to get people from other communities who start to show up, and so then you have to have extra staff to stop everybody and ask them for identification that they live in your community, or you're starting to pay for the communities around you and unincorporated areas. So although it is attractive and it can work, there are logistical issues.
From another city I worked in, word travels fast out in the county that you can take your yard debris and place it.
All right, so then who is doing it? And then we need to make sure we know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a viable strategy, but I like where you're at. Can you talk about revenue loss, which is leading to this discussion?
Yeah.
Can staff articulate?
Yeah, it's actually in the very next one, which is the transportation
Okay.
operating fund. That's where we took the hit.
That's, yeah.
So if there aren't any other questions on storm, we'll jump to the next one, which is transportation, should be on page 76. I did a long-winded explanation here. Due to the state reducing shares of gas tax revenue with cities, we have had to make drastic cuts in the transportation fund. Cuts included painting, signage, pavement repairs, gravel alley repairs, ADA upgrades, and dissolving funds set aside over the past few years for vehicle and equipment replacements. That was zeroed out. There's barely enough for a contingency, and without the state restoring our share of the gas tax, the cuts will increase in future years. Other options available to the city are local gas tax, street fee, and street lighting fee. Additionally, the street fund can no longer support leaf pickup, and the costs are not sustainable in the stormwater fund without a significant fee increase. After review, the stormwater fund leaf pickup can no longer be provided to the community without leaf pickup fee added to the stormwater fee to cover hauling and disposal costs. Other options available to property owners is the use of existing yard debris. So if I look at,
And I'm gonna jump in very quickly and say, what you're hearing is the ramifications of the transportation bill that did not pass.
The one that got hurt.
Correct.
so I'll just.
Well, it did, right. Our expectation, we are planning for the worst, Commissioner. And the worst case scenario is that it will not pass. And that the reductions that we expect to see, based upon conversations with legislators, are into account on this budget. If it passes, you will see most likely an adjustment of some sort. But we have to budget based upon worst case scenario. And that's where we are right now.
If it changes and it comes back, then they can adjust the budget to put that back in, but right now, we're anticipating that it's not. So just for example, this year's estimated gas tax revenue is $815,700. In this upcoming year, we're anticipating it to be $652,600. So that's $160,000 drop. And what that equates to is where I had repairs and maintenance and infrastructure. I used to have 50,000 in there for street repairs, that dropped to 5. 30,000 for ADA replacements, that's 0. The hauling and tipping fees, sweeper spoils, leaf season pickup, was somewhere in the order of about $135,000 to $140,000 per year to do that stuff. So our repairs and maintenance infrastructure went from 45,000 down to 9,000. On top of it, our utility fees are gonna go up, electricity, streetlights. So 98,000 this year, gonna go up to almost 104,000. Traffic signs and painting and striping by Marion County and taking care of railroad crossings and curb painting. That's dropping from 48,000 to 23,500. Contracted professional services is dropping from 33,800 down to 29,800. So, and then if I scroll down, there's nothing in repairs and replacement capital expense as far as roads, and you dropped or cut out completely our replacement reserve, the reserves that we've been building up to replace vehicles and equipments. That evaporated $135,000. And where we should have about 248,000 in contingency, we only have, I moved stuff around, so we're almost on track. So we still have our contingency, but if it continues next year, these cuts are gonna be even more.
Thank you, Chair. So what I'm hearing is no money for pothole fixes, no money for.
Very little.
For striping, relining, clarifying lines in places where we haven't been able to repaint.
Yeah.
In old parts of town.
We're actually looking at talking to Marion County about only striping half of what they normally do per year and do it every other year, where we have some of the stripes that after a year, they're pretty much gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, we have a loss of revenue because of the gas tax. But we also have an increase in all of our costs. So we're being hit.
Yes. I was not happy when I got the gas tax news at all. See if there's anything else on transportation, and so, yeah, I covered everything. There's no other questions on transportation. Next one is on page 78. The SPC funds should go pretty quickly. So our SPC funds, main project for the funds is Corvallis Road water line and the water treatment plant project. We have $250,000 of cash on hand in SPCs to go to the Corvallis Road water line. It really covers our share of the $880,000 grant we got from the federal government. And then the water treatment plant has just under $155,000 in SPCs cash on hand to go to that project. Any questions on that? Yeah.
Have you gotten any updates on the brick grant?
Sorry, it's okay.
They have reinstated the brick and there were some changes made to the brick parameters that make us less competitive than we were before they changed it. Now, that does not mean we're not going to apply. We will apply and we are hopeful. We're looking at other opportunities such as WIFIA and WRDA. WIFIA is a low interest loan, but if we can look at brick maybe next year, maybe things will change again. then we've confirmed that we can use BRIC funds to pay off that low interest loan. So we are assessing grants and low interest loans at every opportunity. Today, in fact, we had a meeting with the Regional Solutions team. We went out to the site, we looked at the location, we talked with each of them on funding, permitting, how to make this process as efficient and effective and well-funded as we possibly can.
Any other water SPC questions? Okay, next one is sewer SPCs, page 79. The main project for this fund is the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project. And also we assume any revenues from development are not spent during fiscal year. The wastewater treatment plant upgrade, SPC estimate is $300,000 towards that project. Any question? Okay, moving on, storm drain SPC fund, page 80. The main project for this fund is stormwater master plan to replace a, most longer than that now, it's 20-year-old plan. And stormwater SPC update following that plan. And as far as stormwater SPC, we're anticipating, if anything dribbles over in the next fiscal year, it'd be about 35,000. And to wrap up the stormwater master plan is probably gonna be under 100,000. Whatever funds are not used, then they automatically roll back over and go towards capacity increasing projects. Are there any stormwater SPC questions? Okay. Next one is transportation SPCs, page 81. Main project for this fund is Chestnut Street Bridge and the Mount Fur Avenue extension. This is just the piece in front of the water treatment plant because we'll actually take access off of Mount Fur to go into the water treatment plant and not off Corvallis Road. Corvallis Road is an arterial. Mount Fur is a minor arterial, so you always try to take access off of your lower classification roadway. The Mount Fur Avenue extension funds in here is just under 537,000, and Chestnut Street Bridge is 545,000. And Chestnut's in another spot. I can give you a breakdown of all of the revenues that we got in grants and other stuff. Are there any questions on transportation SPCs? Okay, next one, page 82 is Parks SPC fund. The only thing we have in there this next fiscal year is the Parks SPC methodology to finish that up with $10,000. And then I left the rest of the money, which is about $402,000 in capital outlay, land improvements, basically park improvements. And I put to be determined on here. My assumption is you'll start working on the first project, but that may change, so I just put to be determined. But you have about $400,000 to spend on your first project. And if the Southwest Crossing builds all of their structures in the next fiscal year, after that, you'll have another $350,000 the next year for the first project.
Where is the money that the $70,000 that we put towards the swimming pool, was that coming out of last year's budget, or is it in this budget, and where is it line item?
It's not actually in this budget. It's in the master plan. We have to pass the SPCs, which will institute the revenue for that. And then after that, you can work on projects, which is why I put in here to be determined with 400,000. So if the council wants to move forward with that project first, because it's a small project and a study to get that launched and get that going. The money is in there to do that.
But we don't actually have the money approved at this point.
No, it is approved, it's in projects to be determined, but you need to pass the master plan and then the SDCs. And then once that's done, you actually have designated project with funding. So the money's there, you just need to approve it. Are there any other questions? No, it's kind of tedious steps you have to go through, but gotta get those in place before you spend the money on. Next fund is Parks Cap Reserve Fund on page 83. This fund has pretty much done everything it's supposed to on projects. There is a reserve for vehicle replacements, vehicle and equipment replacements that are only for parks that are in this fund. My recommendation to the finance director and the city manager was to leave this fund as it is right now. And then in the next budget cycle is to take this money and move it over into the Parks Fund and a reserve line item for vehicles and equipment like we have in street, sewer, water, storm. So it's all in one, and you can get rid of this fund entirely. So you're not tracking a whole bunch of different funds. If it's in parks, it's in the park fund. It's in streets, it's in the street fund. Any questions about that one? Going on to page 94 should be facilities and vehicle replacement fund. Yes. Okay. This fund, the big ones, it assumes the purchase of 2 vehicles for the police department, and the final transfer from the storm fund to fully fund the new shops building, which will be located out by the water treatment plant. And the other note in here is we removed the old museum building from the repairs line item because we're anticipating that that building will be sold, so don't need to budget for repairs and maintenance. And then we also added a new uniform line item because I found out from our guys, hey, we got a new uniform money in there, so that's a small amount. The one thing about PD vehicles, we postponed purchasing a PD vehicle last year. It's become a real operational nightmare for the PD where we actually have officers shifting from one vehicle to another during their shift because we're short of a vehicle, and so they're having to bounce around. And my concern, although I'm not the chief of police, my concern is if you're shifting from one vehicle to another and all of the equipment doesn't move over and you go out to an incident and you don't have all your equipment, that's a major issue. So getting that one vehicle back in and then replacing the other one that is long in the tooth will get them back to where they need this year. Are there any questions on that? Okay. And then moving on to the capital projects fund, page 95. The main projects for this fund are the 5th Street Safe Routes to School project, the rest of the Main and River Hallway Stop project. It's almost done. Chestnut Street Bridge and fund exchange projects. Once the funds for these projects are extended, I'm recommending transferring any final balance of the funds over to the transportation operating fund and creating a reserve line item for street projects and closing this fund. When I got here, this fund was a mishmash of transportation, SDC, street funds, and some general funds. I actually had to go back and figure what transfers were in there. And over the past few years, I've had to methodically spend SDCs on SDC eligible projects and general funds, a little bit of general fund money on the projects that are in there and street funds on the other one. So at the end of this fiscal year, you'll only be dealing with street funds, there's no transportation SDCs in here, so you can move that money back over there. And as far as bookkeeping goes, you'll be clean again. Safe Routes to School has $1 million grant from the state, another ODOT grant of $173,000, and the city's match is $90,000. Chestnut Bridge has a Mad Max grant of $320,000. We have reserves from two previous subdivisions at $98,000, $66,000. We have a $2 million grant from Representative Evans, a $500,000 grant from Representative Salinas, and exchange funds when we got money from the state to do road improvements. They said, we want a list of your projects, and so I listed the projects, and one of them was Chestnut Bridge, so that's eligible. And then the $545,000 of SDCs, and I've got it laid out, so we use the grants first, use the exchange funds, because these are monies that came in from outside, and then we use our SDCs at the end towards project. Main and Coal project is a $2 million grant from Representative Evans. We have about 1.7 million or so left in that. And then the fund exchange additional monies was about $522,000. And as long as they're a memo, yes, but as long as they're used on those projects, you can use all of the money up, and the state will say, yes, you complied with the use of those funds. So any questions on capital projects? That is all of my stuff. Before 8 o'clock.
I guess I do have a question.
Sorry. Commissioner Source.
Can you remind me what the total project of Chestnut or cost of Chestnut is? I'm trying to do the math of what we're paying versus everyone else's.
Yeah, last time it was 4.5 million.
So we're paying like an eighth of the cost.
Yeah, something like that.
And that, Commissioner, is only if we don't find additional funding, which we are continuing to look for.
Yeah, Sean is still.
It's pretty awesome.
Bushes and trees on that. It's a critical connection east-west. And it also provides a secondary access, which is huge for the fire department. You don't want everybody in a massive neighborhood going down one road, which is 7th Street. And it also, by putting that bridge in over to 13th Street, and Sean's actually working on trying to get funding to improve 13th Street up. If we have those two accesses, that project that was at 7th and Monmouth for the signal goes away.
So what we're looking at is there is a build grant, it's a federal grant, and that's what we're looking at for the 13th Street. And that will help considerably with the 7th Street issue. We've been very fortunate with our legislators, both state and federal. Our advocacy has been working, and that's where the bulk of our funding has come for that project.
Thanks.
And if there's no more questions, thank you very much. This is officially my last budget committee meeting. I've done in July. And after 28 years, I'm happy that we got you guys back in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you for getting us back on track. We appreciate it, and organizing all of our projects. All right, we are in good shape. All right, who is next? We're done for the day?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to do the motion too,
Okay.
but as far as,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
I mean, I didn't think we'd be done by now, but I want to put this out here so we can maybe get Miss Carey, sorry, to research this if anybody will back me up on this, but I did send out a letter to each of you. I accidentally gave you the same letter twice. My daughter brought in the second letter I meant to bring in, but I have very big concern when the levy does not pass and we continue to add fees to our water and sewer bills. I don't like that. I don't think it's good for our community. I don't think it's good for transparency. I don't think it's good for multiple reasons. I also don't like the idea of us losing our community services, our wonderful library and museum. And so I put forth this letter and I'm just wondering what would be the financial impact if we could consider reducing our base water and sewer rates by an amount equivalent of $19.65, what that would do to our other funds that we take this from, if we could look into that and just see, and even if we couldn't match it 100%, what would it look like if we matched it 50%? And what would it look like if it matched it 25%? I think once you got the 100%, we could deduce what a 50% impact would be and a 25% impact would be. But I wanted to write these down so that you could see my argument for trying to just take this into account. In addition to this, what would be the impact if we got rid of the tiered system of water fees? I know a lot of families, larger families, are really impacted by the tiered water system fees. And so what would happen if we got rid of the water system fees? And I will also pass out this second letter that I wrote, my concern about hiring an in-house attorney instead of advocating for the current approach where we have contracted legal services as needed. With our present economic climate, I think it's important to remain mindful of long-term financial commitments. Hiring an in-house attorney would introduce a significant fixed cost, including salary, benefits, associated overhead at the time when fiscal restraint and flexibility are critical. Adding a permanent expense of this magnitude may not be the most pertinent course of action. In contrast, contracting legal services like we do may be more beneficial for us. I'm going to pass out this letter too. I have it written a little bit better than what I'm speaking so that I can introduce both these things. But I guess right now, if there's anybody who will second me, this has to be approved in order for.
Well, before we do that,
First, just to address the first point before we get into that, I do appreciate the sentiment where you're coming from. However, with utility rates, first of all, we have debt associated with the utilities and we are required to maintain certain levels of funding in each enterprise fund. Also, when we calculate utility rates, those have to be used to maintain just for the cost of providing the service of the utility, both for operations and for the infrastructure. While I do understand where you're coming from, we really can't use utility rates, reduce those in the spirit of offsetting costs that are in the general fund. We cannot consider those in our utility rates. So that's just not something that we can consider when we do that calculation for rates.
And I'd like to also add, when we went out for our loans, for the wastewater treatment plant, our grants and also for the water treatment plant, part of that was that we would have sufficient rates. So our rate analysis was something that we submitted to them, which incorporated our current fees. If we, for whatever reason, lower that, it could potentially jeopardize our covering the loans and also our grants. Because we committed to these folks, these funding agencies, that we had the funds there and we used our rate studies as proof. Here's the rates and how they're going to increase each year. And so that would open the door for them to go, you know what? You're messing with the numbers now. We might pull this money back. So it would jeopardize the wastewater treatment plant project and the water treatment plant project, which is the concern that I have as you go forward. Think about these and the impacts to them. And then what was the other?
tiered water.
The tiered water. The tiered water is actually a requirement of our adopted water management conservation plan that was approved by the state. It was one of the requirements that within 5 years we had to have a tiered structure in the system. which is why we moved that forward in the water rate structure. So we've committed to the state that we would do that to manage and reduce water waste, which we did. And so if we pull back on that, the state is gonna go, wait a minute, you're not following the management and conservation plan we approved and adopted. Sorry. Okay.
Because the attorney issue hasn't even been, raised yet. That will come in administration. And it's covered across all, it's covered across all departments. I guess, Gerald, do you wanna, since this is your last one, do you wanna talk about what the in-house attorney
yeah.
does for you?
Having an outside contract attorney, as much as I love them, they lead us right. I've worked in agencies where we had an in-house attorney. They're always there. They respond quickly. We have a shortfall in review of contracts, review of development agreements. And when this was brought forward to me, having that in-house attorney be able to review those documents to make sure that we are doing everything legally, correctly, was actually a big relief. I know the other two small agencies that I worked at, they struggled regularly with not having an in-house attorney. In the very first city that I worked at, which was just under 15,000 people, they had two in-house attorneys and they used them constantly. So having somebody in here is going to reduce our contracted services costs with legal, because I put in there 10,000 in one and 10,000 in another, and there are times when I blow past the 10,000 just because there's so much stuff coming in that wasn't anticipated that has to go to the attorney, and the turnaround time for an outside legal service takes a lot longer. So our turnaround and our ability to work is slower. So that might make sense on it, but it's a policy decision. So.
Thank you. I just wanted to say again, to the staff, thank you for this packet. Being a former, human resources specialist for the last 25 years, I know that the admin are rarely thanked for the things that they do. So I appreciate this packet. It's really well laid out, well thought out. So I appreciate that. I did look at the letter that was sent in by my fellow counselor, and one of the things that was in there is just said that that they really get seconded on proposals. And I just wanted to say, I think it's important that our voices are heard and that ideas are being generated, but they really have to be good ideas to get a second motion. In this case, if we take money from one fund and then put it into the general fund, it's the same as just transferring like interloans, right? Is that not true? Yeah.
Are you taking off?
Yeah, unless you had a question for me.
I did have one quick question. I'm sorry. I'll make it real quick. Do we have a percentage projected cost and increase over the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years for our water and sewer?
Don't hold me to this. Sewer, one is 3.5% per year, and the other one I think is 2.6% per year.
Okay.
And they only run for 5 years, which we started sewer first. And I think we have 2 more years of increases, and then after that, it's indexed on inflation. And that's to cover all of the debt going forward. Same thing with water. I think we're on our 2nd year of water. We have 3 more, and then it's indexed to inflation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And second question for Kenna, Miss West. I would really like to see a fee breakdown for the city across all departments. Just something that clearly states, how much we pay in fees for water, sewer, public safety fees, all the fees that are included with the city as a whole. And then a separate line that shows, you know, just the public safety fee and the additional fees. I'm trying to get a clear picture of how many fees and how much we're paying towards the city as a whole, as opposed to by department. And I'll probably need a second on that because that would probably require a bit of research.
That would require significant research by the finance director. Yeah, it sounds like it's all a fee. He wants water rates and sewer rates and storm, which are not fees, they're rates. So I want to be very clear. Fees
Yes,
are separate from rates.
I understand.
Okay, rates are for services.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a clear picture of altogether how much we're paying and then the additional fees that people are actually voting.
Are you talking about per?
Per house
Yeah.
or-
Per household on average, yes.
Amanda, continue.
When we do our revenue discussion for the general fund, we're also gonna do a breakdown of fees, and I will be presenting those. The public safety fee and then the proposed community services and parks fees.
Okay.
And the revenues, so that will break those down.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I know he's gone, but maybe you can answer, sorry, Chair, I just popped right in. I guess I just didn't get a sense of, because I know it's gonna come up as what it costs for leaf pickup as just like a line item.
So Gerald knows that, and we can have that for next meeting.
Okay.
Um,
I just feel like that's a one that we should have.
and part of that, I'll double check with him, because a part of that is the cost of the equipment. Our equipment is failing because of the leaf pickup.
What, I guess, not to belabor it, but I think you're a couple of, I think we've all just been like, well, there's probably opportunity cost, right? So what's like the other, and of course, that's speculative of unclogging capture bait. I know you can't really, but I think that's what we're thinking about, I think, so.
And I think Chair Fitzgerald actually has that information, so we can just bring it back the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Martin Willis.
And I'll direct it to you sitting there with your votes. Oh. In a minute.
But
Yeah.
Green, please be green.
But I will not go very, very fast. So I guess, probably more appropriately, it would be nice to see the actual expense of leaf pickup with the proper equipment. I mean, that I think would be, a better comparison
that's fair.
versus, you know, with the backhoe that we've got, because there is.
Let me hear, are you saying that we would buy equipment to do it properly? Because we don't own the right equipment at this point in time.
That is exactly my
Okay.
point. So in order to do it right, if we're gonna actually look at how much leaf pickup costs, the backhoe is not gonna last forever. I've watched that poor thing try to pick up leaves on 7th. And so, given the proper equipment, what does that comparison really look like?
That's fair.
So we've been discussing, Chair, we think that, because we have what it costs now, it would take a simple maybe phone call or review of what's available out there for cost. It shouldn't take us more than 20 minutes to bring in that information. So this is a low level request. I'm thinking we don't need a motion for that. Finance Director agrees with me on that.
Perfect, thank you very much. And if you can ask Gerald to do that, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you. That's good.
Anybody else right now that, Source? You didn't lose your cone.
If you keep adding it on though.
I'm not adding on a request. I think this is something that we as commission members need to think about. And I think it's the point of Commission member Alex, because I have a hard time.
I appreciate it.
pronouncing it, friend. So opportunity cost, I think, is an important thing for us to talk about, and it goes to the legal conversation, it goes to the leaf pickup, and it goes to a lot of things that's in this binder and a lot of the conversations we're gonna be having. So I think we need to be really thinking really trying to think 2 steps down to those potential opportunity costs when we're considering these things and reflecting that in the conversation about the community services fee in general, because that is a bold step in my mind, so I'll just speak for myself, to addressing some of these opportunity costs that we've never been able to actually. We kind of have never really brought into the budget. There are things that we've done because they're things that the community wants, that the city has found ways to fund, but we've never actually consistently paid for it, right? And so we need to really be mindful in all of these conversations, that point, which is the opportunity cost of not doing something that we're doing in the holistic conversation. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that I think we're gonna keep coming up to this opportunity cost conversation, and we really need to really holistically think about that and then talk to the community about it. Because I see, like everything else with government, we pay for what we get, right? So, or you get what you pay for, opposite of that, it's been a long day, you get what you pay for. So we don't wanna pass a gas tax, we're not gonna have nice roads in our community. We don't wanna pass a levy, we're not gonna have nice libraries. We don't wanna pass a fairgrounds thing, we're not gonna have a nice fair, that's right. So these are the conversations I think we need to have with our whole community in the next few weeks, to really make sure that folks fully understand what the costs that we're having conversations about. So thank you for indulging me.
All right, I just do wanna say is that I did sit in on the budget creation. And an overall theme with each department was, how little can we spend? Like, and that's why they really did get rid of things that were completely non-essential, not legally required, or just contributed to the economic growth of our community. And they've done a really good job of that. And unfortunately, like leaf pickup is expensive. It ruins our equipment, and we don't have the extra money. We are imposing a fee because we don't have any extra money. And I think that if we think about adding anything, then we have to raise the fee, and that's just not okay. So keep that in mind when you're making suggestions of things we want to add.
Am I good?
Yes.
Okay.
Margaret, go.
In the interest of moving the evening along, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the amendment packet that was presented by staff here at the beginning of the meeting.
Do we want to do that now, or we're gonna wait till the end when we made all the adjustments? That's what we talked about doing at the beginning, or
Was there any other adjustments?
it's just those, but we might have some more as we go through each department. If people have adjustments they want to make, and then we can line them
Oh,
all
so
up at the
you're
end.
saying doing the amendment adoption at the very end?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're gonna make a running list
I
and
thought it
this, no,
I withdraw my motion.
okay, yeah, no, we're gonna make one big motion at the end
Got it.
after we've talked to every department and gone through the budget
Understood.
as a total. Any other? Well, if that is done with this I think that we can move to adjourn. No. Recess, that's right. I always
Motion to recess.
motion to recess, not adjourn. Do what? Foxfest.
Sorry.
Bradley seconds.
Myra, do you want a motion? Myra, do you want a motion of a date certain or just a motion to recess?
To a date certain.
All right. Call for a motion to recess to the reconvene April 29th, 2006 at 6:30 PM. Roll call.
Commissioner Ford,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodey. Aye. Commissioner Waller.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin Lewis.
Aye.
Commissioner Shortler.
Hi.
Commissioner Four. Aye. Commissioner Hartman.
Aye.
Commissioner Carmen.
Aye.
Commissioner Porter. Aye. Commissioner Chair Garrison. Aye. Sorry. Commission member Tyler. Aye. And commission member Rasmus.
Aye.
Commission member.
Aye.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't, yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Do not go anywhere, though. We are not done for this evening.
Then I just want to remind people there are sandwiches and cookies, but they haven't done today. Please take some.
Yes, thank you. All right, so we need to discuss the urban renewal agency. I didn't get us prepared for this one. That's okay. I do believe we just, is there, we're gonna open it for discussion. Yep, that's all I have to do is, right, open it for discussion.
Probably got minutes for that as well.
Okay. Do we have to do roll call as well?
Yes.
All right. So we are opening, we are starting this. All right, roll call.
Team member Fortler.
Hi, here.
Board member. Oh. Oh, wait, but
They're on the thing. Hey, I lied. Yeah, you're good, Myra.
Committee member Howard.
Long there.
Present.
Committee member Roden. Present. Committee member Water.
Here.
Committee member Mark Willis. Here. Committee member Morton is excused. Committee member Four. Here. Chair Garrison. Here. Committee member Porter. In. Committee member Sherman.
Here.
Committee member Seiler. Here. Committee member Rasmus.
Here.
Committee member Christensen.
Here.
Committee member.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, so now we will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Cord, Martin Willis, a second. Okay. Roll call.
Committee member Carter.
Aye.
Committee member Christensen.
Aye.
Committee member Rasmus.
Aye.
Committee member Taylor. Aye. Committee member Sherman.
Aye.
Committee member Porter. Aye. Chair Garrison. Aye. Committee member Four. Aye. Committee member Mark Lewis. Aye. Committee member Boisvert.
Aye.
Committee member Rogan. Aye. Committee member Source.
Aye.
Committee member Source.
Hi.
Okay, and it's our approved.
All right, thank you. Now, we will open this up for public comment and discussion. Is there any? All right, then we will close it. Anyone for review, correct? Does anybody want to discuss it?
Budget message.
Budget message. Okay.
Good evening, I will be brief, I'm not going to read the budget message for the renewal agency in full, I will just touch on highlights briefly. The agency fund structure, the agency is comprised of two components, the capital projects fund and the debt service fund. Tax increment revenues are used to meet the obligations of the urban renewal agencies, including both debt service and repayment of city loans. In fiscal year 2026, due to slower growth in tax increment revenue, the URA board took action to revise the repayment schedule for interfund loans owed to the City of Independence General Fund. Annual payments were reduced from approximately $500,000 to approximately $200,000, with the revised schedule extending through fiscal year 2031. This adjustment reflects current revenue realities and was necessary to relieve near-term financial pressure on the agency while maintaining compliance with other debt obligations. In light of the current conditions, the agency will focus on the following priorities in fiscal year 2027. Maintaining compliance with all existing debt obligations. Given the current financial constraints, new investments will be limited. We will limit financial commitments to those aligned with projected resources and support targeted redevelopment opportunities that generate future tax increment. The agency currently owns 3 lots that have been previously identified by the URA board for disposition and have been placed on the market. Staff is actively working with the realtor to record a record to facilitate their sale and redevelopment with the goal of returning those properties to productive taxable use and supporting long-term revenue growth with the URA. The agency remains committed to its mission of addressing blight and supporting revitalization within its boundaries. However, in the near term, progress will depend on targeted redevelopment opportunities and strategic partnerships rather than broad market driven growth. We appreciate the continued time, attention, and guidance of the Urban Renewal Agency Board of Directors and the Budget Committee. We look forward to working collaboratively to ensure the agency remains financially sustainable while positioning it for future redevelopment opportunities.
Thank you for that message. Do we have to discuss it now?
I believe we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Discuss it
If you'd
next
like
one.
to Make a, someone would like to make a motion to recess it.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to recess to reconvene April 29th, 2006 at 6:30 PM.
Second.
Willis and Christensen. Roll call.
Committee member Forster,
Aye.
committee member Force,
Aye.
committee member Roden. Aye. Committee member Boisvert,
Aye.
committee member Martin Lewis. Aye. Committee member Core. Aye. Chair Garrison. Aye. Committee member Porter. Aye. Committee member Sharman.
Aye.
Committee member Seibert. Aye. Committee member Perez.
Aye.
Committee member Christensen.
Aye.
Committee member Carpenter.
Aye.
Recess 8:21.
Yes.
All right, we are recessed. Thank you.